Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division with Various Wind here playing from Front Tee for the World Tour 9-hole cup here in Golf Clash the game. We will see 9 par 3s. This is the first time we have this type of concept in Golf Clash, and I truly hope we will see more of these type of concepts in the future. I would love to see just a par 4 9-hole cup, because I think that's probably what, when I've been looking at feedback, that's what people would love to see the most. But for me, I love par 3s. That's just a nice puzzle all the way from hole 1 up to hole 9. And now we have 9 different par 3s from 9 different courses. And that is super exciting. Scan the QR code here on the screen or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy for the best guides on the market. Also make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications if you enjoy the stuff we do here on the channel. Last but not least, follow the info box on the right hand side for the club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also a ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind that those are all suggestions and you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there's always a plan behind it. So let's move on to hole number 1. For hole number 4 of the Gokasho Bay, playing from the front tee, we are attacking the pin by bouncing with our first bounce above the bunker. Use a long iron that can give you minimum 4 bars of backspin. It's either the backbone or the Goliath. Saturn could also be played. Doesn't really matter. What needs to be said though, if you do have a Grizzly or a B52 that allows you to have a very good ball guideline or better ball guideline than a backbone, I would strongly advise you to play with that club. It's because playing with a good ball guideline will help you aim for the pin, because now we're going to have to guess. And even though we're making a good educated guess, it's still going to be very difficult to be spot on all the time. When it comes to the adjustment, we're playing max plus 20 here. You don't really have to play with any good ball, so a navigator is definitely going to be a very good one to use. Sakura Hills, par 3. Here we're going to play a rough bump, and the reason I want to play a rough bump is because that's, I would say, it's not the only way to drop an hole-in-one on, but I would say that's the best way. It's a skinny rough bump where we are bouncing at the edge, or like we're aiming at the edge of the rough. This to compensate for the slight headwind that we're having. And we're playing this shot in the video max plus 10, but that is a mistake. We should be playing this one mid plus 10 instead, and you can see that the difference with that is obviously that I'm going to miss left. There's no need to play with a special ball here, or like to play with any better ball than a power 0 ball. However though, playing with a lot of wind resistance will allow you to not have to pull that many rings, and will also give you then an easier time to hit the rough. So this is an aggressive way to play this shot. If you're not interested playing the aggressive way, if you rewind a little bit, you could see that I played with the Guardian, or like I started with the Guardian with all its backspin. So that's a way for you to just use all the backspin, aim for the green, and just land it there, and the backspin will give you a normal putt to secure the birdie. But the hole-in-one will not be a possibility, unfortunately, with using the Guardian there. So the rough bump if you want to go for the hole-in-one, otherwise just land it on green and move on. It's not often when we see Meadow Castle in a playthrough, and here we are looking to use a long iron that give you a good amount of backspin. I would say minimum 3 bars, and then I would say to recommend to use whatever long iron that gives you the best possible ball guideline. For me, it is Goliath level 6, which is actually a good club in the lower stages. It also gives us a decent amount of power. I'm using a Kingmaker here to reduce the wind as much as I can. Do you need to have a Kingmaker? No, you don't, but it's definitely helpful. Medium distance plus 10, bounce on the fairway before the green, dead center for a lovely hole-in-one. The reason this one could be a little bit tricky is because if you're ending up playing with a long iron that don't have 3 bars of backspin, it's going to be difficult to get the ball to stop in time, as you're going to have to bounce at approximately same place or maybe even closer to the rough, and that's not really what we want to do, because the rough line there, or rough and the bunker, really makes this one not be as easy as you would think Meadow Castle would be. Oasis hole number 7 from the front tee. This is truly one of the most disliked par 3s in my world. And the reason I think that is because it's just built from inconsistency. Doing a rough bump is inconsistent. Bouncing on the fairways are inconsistent to all the bumps and stuff like that. So I do believe though that the fairway spot that we are bouncing on here in the video is definitely the one to give you the most consistency within all the inconsistencies. Max plus 10, I'm using backspin to go through the hole to try to compensate for the headwind coming in a little bit hot and a little bit too much to the left, but in the worst case scenario with a perfect ball here, you will then have a easy birdie putt. However though, this is a par 3 where there is not much room for error, and that's something to really have in mind. You're gonna see a lot of opponents sit with a par on their scorecards, so make sure to follow the advice and get yourself a safe birdie to start with, and then if you're a little bit lucky, then you get a hole-in-one. There is, in my opinion, two ways of playing this hole. One is to use a club with a lot of backspin and to aim just before the green starts and attack the pin that way. That's the more normal way. However though, we do not really have that high level clubs, or especially not on this account. I don't have that, so I'm trying to find an alternative way where a rough bump like this is super safe, but also a nice way of actually using a long iron such as the Goliath that do have a lot of topspin, and we are actually spoiled having the ball guideline to show all the way through the hole. Medium distance plus 5 is what I would like to do as an adjustment, which is a slight tweak based on the result here in this video. And you can see here that the ball comes down the green with a good speed, and we're missing just right because I'm using too little in adjustment. Navigator is a perfect ball, reduce the wind slightly, but it's not one of the most expensive balls out there. So alternative way here for the Kohong Resorts, hole number 4, to attack the pin for an hole-in-one. Par 3 of the Acacia Reserve. This is not really a fun one either because of its inconsistency, very similar to one of the Oasis par 3s as well. And I'm using all the backspin and one left spin here. I'm trying to use the Guardian to somewhat avoid some of the bumpy parts that is on the green. Sure, you can play a rough bump further back, however that's going to have to be played with a long iron, and the problem with that is that you do not really have a long iron with that good ball guideline to get to aim at the hole. This par 3 I believe is more difficult from the front tee than what it is from the second tee. So using the Guardian will always get you close to the hole and will be a safe birdie with an outside chance for an hole-in-one. But this is a par 3 where I rather take a safer approach to this hole than trying to do something different and risk going into a massive glitch hole that would roll you over the green into the rough and stuff like that. And so I think we need to be thinking about this more towards the conservative way. But that's just me. You don't have to do what I'm saying. But this is an alternative you have. Using the Guardian, all the backspin, aim for the ball guideline to go past and roll back. Now obviously it needs slight tweaks from what I'm doing here in the video to get the hole-in-one. But you catch, or you understand you understand the thought behind the play. Minimum distance plus 10, using a Marlin to avoid pulling back to midline. Jamil Dunes, hole number 2 from front tee. Here I always like to go for a rough bump in headwind, and the reason I want to go for a rough bump especially in headwind is because then I can use my sniper. The sniper allows me to hit a great ball and not be screwed. If we're playing a rough bump in tailwind, or in tailwind especially, then we're going to have to play with a long iron, and a long iron such as the Goliath or Backbone will be having a very bad accuracy, where a great ball then could be absolute danger. A minimum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and I'm playing with a mauling ball, and that's also something that is important. You need to play with a power 0 ball if you're going to play a rough bump with your sniper. But if you do want to play with a long iron, you're going to have to play with a better power ball. Great right, you can still, I'm still, even though I aim very close to the rough line, I'm still clipping the rough and rolling just right, where a perfect ball would have dropped for an hole-in-one. So the rough bump definitely offers the best chance for a drop. However though, if you do want to play the more conservative way, you can bounce on the fairway that is to the right of the rough using some backspin and land the ball close to pin. Hole-in-one will not be as likely as it will be with the rough bump, but the birdie will always be safe. Shiruba Springs, par 3, playing from the front tee, and this is, in my opinion, a tougher hole from the front tee than what it is from the second tee, and for the third tee as well. And the reason is the ball guideline, and the ball guideline alone. Because when looking at this here now, we would love to have a good ball guideline to attack the pin, because there are so much fairway, so much green to cover before we actually end up by the hole. So what I decide to do, which I think is the more safe approach, but also in actually the better chance for the hole-in-one, as we can control the speed of the ball once it hits the ground better by using backspin, is that we're aiming past the bunker and we are using backspin and some right spin to aim slightly short of hole as it is tailwind, and then we adjust medium distance plus 10 using a navigator, and we're using the long iron that gives us the best ball guideline that we do have, which is the Goliath of my clubs. It could be different for you. Obviously playing with a Grizzly in a decent level would give you a very good ball guideline, which would be the best club actually to use here, but don't really have that here on this account, unfortunately. But here, Shiruba Springs, I would say this is not the toughest, this is not the easiest, but good chance for an hole-in-one. On hole number 5, playing from front tee, I would say playing on this rough patch in between the bunkers is going to be the best way to attack for an hole-in-one. Sure, as I've said, for pro and expert and also for master, we can use the rough on the left side, but I do believe it's going to be a little bit more difficult to catch that massive funnel from that end, because we're going to either have to play with a max long iron or a min wood club. So I'm using 2 left spin. I'm also using a lot of backspin here, so I'm packing the Guardian to make sure that even in a lower level of my Guardian, I do have the backspin enough to have the ball to not come in too hot, because that's the tricky part with this one here, to come in too hot. We're playing into a massive funnel here on this rough, and that's the one that you're going to look for, and that's going to mean that the spins for you is going to most likely vary depending on what wind angle you're going to have, and that's something to have in mind when you're playing this type of shot in live attempt in the tournament. No elevation, true club distance, and it's going to be around medium club. I'm playing with a Quasar ball here, but obviously different balls suggest ball select, different golf balls can be used here too, doesn't have to be a Quasar. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Rookie Division with various win for the World Tour 9-hole Cup here in Golf Clash in the game. Make sure to get the best guides on the market for tour and tournament play by scanning the QR code here on the screen, or you go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy by grabbing the link that is in the description down below. Thank you once again for watching. Good luck in your Golf Clash game.